I am certain that you are well aware of this, but from the time that Virginia was first established, along with our language and government, we brought a church, the established church.
The Act of Toleration. Well, that was passed in 1689 under William and Mary. Dissenters could not hold public office, had none of the civil capacities of other British subjects, and yet they were taxed to pay the establishment church.
Our family was very much involved in that, laying the foundation for the established church here in Virginia, a connection between government and church.
But by the 1740s, there were converts inspired by the emotional revivalism of awakening preachers such as George Whitefield and Jonathan Edwards. They were known as New Lights, and those who formed into churches known as the Separate Baptists.
Separate Baptists, who denied the authority of government to have any say whatsoever in Virginia. They believed that they were commissioned to preach not by government, no, but rather by God Himself.
Now, the first of those here in Virginia were the Marshalls, Daniel and Martha, Martha's brother Shubal Stearns. They migrated south to North Carolina, formed the First Baptist Church there in 1755, Sandy Grove. They built the church before they built their homes. As for my own part, I was awakened to my lost condition under the preaching of the Reverend David Thomas in 1764. And my brothers and I were also inspired by Colonel Samuel Harris. He encouraged us to hold meetings, and we did so in my tobacco barn.
So the Baptists, the Separate Baptists, preached wherever they could, mostly with permission, but sometimes without permission.
Many illiterate, yet illumined by wisdom from above, undismayed by the terrific hosts of Satan, backed by the strong arm of civil government. Broad is the road that leads to...
And men of the established church took issue with that. And Baptist preachers, Separate Baptists, began to be arrested. Not so much for not getting a license, but much more so for disturbing the peace for their gatherings. And they found themselves being put in prison. But that did not...
Counselor Carter.
Elijah Craig, may I offer you the hand? It's good to see you, sir. You know, I know your brother and heard your brother Lewis on a number of occasions preach up in the Northern Neck. I've only heard you once.
Well, I just heard you speaking of persecution. You know, Lewis was among the first imprisoned back in 1768.
Is that right?
Yes. We know of over 150 examples of a Baptist preacher either imprisoned or beaten up for nothing more than the crime of preaching the gospel of peace.
Were you yourself, Elijah, put in prison?
2 times in Orange County and 2 in Culpeper, where they put me in an inner cell in the center of the building so I couldn't preach to passersby on the street through the bars of my cell window. But like Paul, it is not a punishment but a glory. If you suffer with him, you shall reign with him.
Yes.
You know, we thought all that had ended in 76 with the 16th article of the Virginia Declaration of Rights, when it promised us the free exercise of religion.
According to the dictates of conscience.
Yes, sir, but that was not the case with no disestablishment of the government church.
I witnessed that.
We remained second-class citizens.
I witnessed that myself 2 years after the Declaration.
Yes, I'm curious about your conversion.
Well, I had a personal experience first, which made me more closer to God and to seek His will in my life. But I began to attend Presbyterian and Baptist and Methodist meetings. But I think it was under the influence of Lewis Lunsford in September of '78 that drew me especially to his church, the Moratica Church. But I have to say, sir, having heard your brother and yourself and other Separate Baptists preach, it brought me brought me to God, and I was baptized in September of 78.
And well, soon after that came Mr. Jefferson's Bill 82.
Yes. And we thought that would...
Every man shall be free to profess and by argument maintain his opinions in matters of religion, and that the same shall in no wise diminish, enlarge, or affect their civil capacities.
Unfortunately, the government of Virginia didn't see fit to pass that bill.
It was too much disestablishment.
Yes, I suppose for them it was a threat.
And then, of course, Mr. Henry offered his general assessment, religious taxation to the denomination of your choice.
Yes, well, Mr. Henry can't be faulted for that. I think he had the best interest of religion in mind, but that was still establishment of church.